We're shifting the workflow's grand design, leaving old school limits far behind. Forge deeper human connection, a synergy of new direction.
Let's build something brilliant together.
The Marblism Partner Network.
A prospect says, "Can you show me one result like mine?" You know you have the answer somewhere. It is in an old email, a proposal, a customer message, and a folder called final.final.approved. You start searching. The conversation moves on, and your impressive claim is still sitting there unhelpfully in 4 different places. So how do you turn scattered customer results into proof a buyer can actually use?
That folder has ended more sales than bad pricing ever did.
Exactly. And the frustrating part is that the business may genuinely have excellent results. The evidence is simply trapped in places nobody can find quickly, or it is described so broadly that the buyer cannot tell whether it applies to them.
And sometimes the business remembers the success more clearly than the circumstances. That is where a true result can accidentally become an exaggerated claim.
Welcome to Marblism Partner Network, the show that helps entrepreneurs, creators, consultants, and small business owners use Marblism AI agents in real business situations. I am Ava Marble, and today Penny and Linda are joining me for a working conversation about buyer-ready proof. We will follow one fictional business from a vague promise to a usable proof kit.
And not a proof kit full of glittery adjectives. We are talking about a website section, a case study outline, an outreach message, and social content that all come from the same verified evidence.
With permission and human review before anything represents the customer publicly.
The method has 5 simple moves. Collect what customers actually say. Connect it to the concern behind their question. Clarify what happened and what changed. Publish the evidence where it helps a buyer. Then review the source, permission, and wording. Think of it as a ladder from buyer doubt to credible proof.
Right. The questions are not just obstacles. They are evidence about what buyers need to believe.
Let us use North Star Studio, a fictional operations consultancy for independent clinics. Its homepage says, "We streamline your business so you can focus on growth." That sounds fine, until a clinic owner asks, "What changes for my front desk on Monday morning?"
There it is. Polished promise, empty coffee cup.
The buyer wants relevance, not just enthusiasm. What problem was present? What did North Star actually do? What changed and under what conditions?
In the full Marblism workflow, Rachel, the AI receptionist, could capture recurring questions from calls and inquiries. Suppose she notices that clinic owners keep asking, "Will this interrupt our front desk?" and "How quickly can staff use it without a long training project?"
Even the questions?
Especially the questions, because they show where confidence breaks. "We cannot add another system" tells you more than a generic request for efficiency. It reveals fear of disruption, limited staff capacity, and a need for a quick first step.
And those exact words can guide the content. I might start with, how to improve clinic intake without overwhelming your front desk. That is much more useful than 5 ways to optimize operations. Let's rank this the right way, but let's make sure the reader recognizes the problem before we ask for a click.
I agree, but customer language is not automatically verified evidence. If someone says, "You cut our admin time in half," that is a valuable lead. It is not automatically a publishable or universal result.
There. I am not sure I want every strong statement softened until it disappears, though.
Nor do I. I want it attributable. If the source supports it and permission is in place, say, one North Star client reported cutting administrative time in half during the first month. That is still strong. It simply does not pretend one experience is a guarantee for every clinic.
So instead of a headline like "Cut intake delays in half," I could write "How one clinic reduced intake back and forth." That gives me a real story without making a promise the source cannot carry.
That is the connect step. In the full workflow, Stan, the AI sales outreach and lead generation agent, would map the recurring question to the objection underneath it. The objection is not only cost, it is adoption, disruption, and the fear of creating more work while trying to remove work.
That mapping changes the outreach too. You are no longer saying, "We help clinics grow." You can say, "You mentioned that front desk adoption as a concern. We have a short example of one clinic introducing a clearer intake sequence without a major training rollout. Would that be useful to review?" Provided that the example is real, documented, and approved.
Yes, Linda. The legal seatbelt is fastened.
Now we clarify the story. For this illustrative fictional example, North Star learns that one clinic was spending about 9.5 staff hours each week chasing incomplete intake information. North Star introduced a clearer intake sequence, created a short checklist, and reviewed the process after 2 weeks. Over the next 4 weeks, the clinic tracked 18 fewer clarification messages and reported that new staff could follow the sequence without a separate training session.
That is much stronger than "we transformed their operations." I can see the before, the action, the observation, and the limit of the claim. Exactly. If the number is measured, identify the measurement period. If it is estimated, label it estimated. If it comes from the customer's report, attribute it. And if the result depends on a particular workflow or level of implementation, say so.
This is also where Marvelism's executive assistant keeps the work from becoming a beautiful pile of unfinished drafts. The assistant can organize source notes, separate confirmed facts from open questions, assign a reviewer, and track whether the customer approved a quote, a logo, a named case study, or only an anonymous example. I have already organized the next step. Every claim gets an owner and a status.
That is huge. Content teams often do not have a writing problem. They have a source of truth problem. One draft says 2 weeks, another says 3. One says the clinic saved time, another says it saved money. Then someone chooses the sentence with the best headline and hopes it is the accurate one. Hope is not a review process. A simple evidence table is better. Claim, source, measurement, permission, qualifier, and approver. This deserves a closer look before it becomes a headline that travels farther than the original conversation. Once that table is clean, I can turn one evidence item into several useful assets. Good content should do more than fill space. The article explains how to reduce intake back and forth. The case study shows the clinic's situation, action, and observed change. The homepage uses one concise proof point instead of 6 vague adjectives. And Sunny, the AI social media ghostwriter and community manager, would adapt the same verified evidence for conversation. One post could ask, "What part of your intake process creates the most back and forth?" Another could share the practical lesson. A third could invite operators to compare experiences, not 6 identical posts wearing different hats.
I turned that topic into traffic, but traffic is not proof.
Thank you.
The page still has to earn trust after the click. I write for search and for trust. If the article gets attention but hides the conditions behind the result, it has created curiosity without giving the buyer a fair basis for judgment. And permission must be specific. Is the customer approving a quote, a logo, a named story, an anonymous example, or internal use only? Consent should not appear 5 minutes before the post is scheduled.
Let us assemble the finished proof kit. The website section says North Star helped one clinic introduce a clearer intake sequence and report fewer clarification messages over a 4-week period. The case study outline includes the original problem, the checklist and sequence, the measurement method, the customer-approved quote, and the limits of the result.
The blog brief answers the broader question, how can a clinic improve intake without overwhelming its front desk? The outreach asset connects that question to a relevant example. The social versions turn the lesson into conversation prompts. Same evidence, different jobs. And before publishing, the human reviewer asks 5 questions. What did the customer actually say? What concern does it reveal? What happened in response? Where will this help a buyer? Has the source, permission, and wording been checked?
That is the evidence ladder in plain language. Collect, connect, clarify, publish, and review. It does not turn every compliment into a campaign. It helps a business discover the strongest, honest explanation of what happened, then place that explanation where a buyer needs it.
The strongest proof is usually not the loudest claim. It is the clearest account of a real problem, a real action, and a result described honestly. And the agents can organize, connect, draft, adapt, and flag questions. They should not quietly decide that an unverified result is ready for public use.
That is also why this is a useful partner story. You are not promoting random AI software because it is fashionable. You are showing a business outcome. A scattered customer conversation becomes a checked proof point, a helpful article, a relevant outreach message, and thoughtful social content. The system is visible, and the business owner remains in control.
Thanks for listening to Marbleism Partner Network. Subscribe for more episodes on Marbleism AI agents, business workflows, and practical growth strategies. You can explore Marbleism and the partner opportunity through my link in the show notes. Before you publish your next strong claim, collect the evidence first. Marbleism, where your AI agents do the office work so you can do the customer work. See you next time.
The Marbleism Partner Network. We're shifting the